Maladjusted Misfits.
All right, come on, hurry. We have to record the podcast.
Oh my God, Joe, you should have German subtitles. I'm Adam.
And I'm Joe.
And together we're the Maladjusted Misfits.
And this is the one where we talk about friends.
Alrighty.
What was that?
I don't know.
Okay. How are you this week?
I'm good. How are you this Mother's Day afternoon?
Yeah, it is Mother's Day afternoon to record. Can I tell my favorite Mother's Day story?
Sure.
Okay.
Except I want to say first that today you wanted to get some coffee for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, and the wait was an hour for coffee.
I ordered it at Starbucks to just walk in and pick it up, and the wait was an hour.
Yeah.
It said 58 to 61 minutes wait. And when I went in, there was like 20 people standing there. The line for the drive-thru was around the building, and I almost texted Adam and said, forget it, I'm just not going to get coffee today. And then he called my name. So I was like, yay!
Yay!
All right, so my favorite Mother's Day story is the girl kid. And we were over.
I'll do her line when it comes up.
Okay, so we were over at my mom and dad's house.
All right.
For Mother's Day.
Yes.
And my brothers are there.
Yeah.
And we're all sitting there and we're talking about Mother's Day. And, you know, like we're talking about, I don't know, we're talking about Mother's Day and moms and all this stuff.
Hey, you know what my favorite holiday is?
What?
This is what the girl kid said.
Yeah.
And everybody stops and looks at her. What? Father's Day.
But you left out the funniest part.
Oh.
She turns and looks at me in my face and says, Father's Day. And my brother goes, man, that's some cold shit. Yeah, so just suffice to say, she's a daddy's girl.
Father's Day.
And then on Father's Day, I get to say my favorite Father's Day story.
Yes. We'll save that for that day.
All right. So this week we're doing...
The one with the lesbian wedding.
Yay! What's our IMDb plot?
All right. The IMDb plot. Rachel's mom comes to visit with big news. Monica caters Carol and Susan's wedding. Phoebe becomes possessed by the spirit of a recently deceased client.
It said possessed?
It says possessed.
Oh my God.
It's in quotes. Possessed.
Wow. Okay. So our episode director is our director from last week, Thomas Chalamet. Chalamet, I think that's how you say it. He also directed episodes of ER, Ally McBeal, and 14 episodes of The West Wing.
Oh, nice.
You know what I found funny is that a lot of them, you know, we see the dual writers go to other things, but I also see them being on the same shows and directing the same shows and writing the same shows. Right. I just think that's really cool.
I wonder if it's like a studio thing too.
Like this is the NBC.
Right. Like kind of the director's trade through the...
Got it.
It's part of their contract somehow. I don't know.
I don't know. Interesting.
All
right. Our episode writer is Dottie Abrams.
Dottie.
Remember, she's a returning writer. She wrote one episode per season, except season 4.
Fuck season 4.
I wonder what she was doing during season 4. She directed an episode of Joey, and really, there's not a lot. She just did a few things, and I Googled, and there's not a lot of info on Dottie Abrams, but she did a good job on this episode.
Yeah, maybe she's on a writing team, somewhere. Who knows?
All right, so when was our original air date?
Our original air date was January 18th, 1996.
Wow, we're getting close to 1997.
Yeah. Each episode gets us closer.
Okay.
So, the number 2 movie that week was Mr. Holland's Opus.
Mr. Holland's Opus. I remember that movie.
Yeah.
It was good. I don't remember watching it more than one time.
I think we watched it theater
Yeah.
and then video once.
Right.
But,
It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And then the number one movie
Yeah.
was From Dusk Till Dawn.
Wait, I thought that was the number one movie from last week.
No.
What?
No, we watched From Dusk Till Dawn last week.
Oh, okay. That's so funny.
That's why we're talking about it.
That's right.
But it was the number one movie this week. Last week was 12 Monkeys.
That is so funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we just happened to watch it last week. And then this week
it's the number one movie. That is too funny.
In 1996.
Oh, that's true. All right. Are you ready for some trivia?
I am ready for some trivia.
All right. So this is one of the rare same-sex weddings to be featured in a television show.
Mm-hmm.
So I did a little mini, Google search. I looked it up, basically.
Okay.
And at the time this article was published by the BBC in 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was Googling, I even found a thesis on the subject of same-sex weddings and television series by Susie Vaughn. I hope she got her PhD.
Okay.
I read a little bit of it. It was pretty good.
All right.
But anyway.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah. So in 2022, out of the 775 regular series on broadcast TV, 11.9% of the characters were LGBTQ+.
Okay.
With bisexual representation characters making up 29% of that 11.9%.
Okay.
And then GLAAD, the acronym GLAAD, right? They recognize Brooklyn Nine-Nine for having multiple LGBTQ plus characters in their ensemble cast.
Yes.
Which was such a good show.
Yes.
Yeah. Officiating the wedding of Susan and Carol is Candace Gingrich,
Okay.
the half-sister of former U.S. House Representative, Speaker of the House, conservative Newt Gingrich.
Nice.
And Candace Gingrich, at the time, she probably still is a LGBTQ plus rights activist. Go Candace.
Go Candace. Very nice.
And then even
Not sure about the haircut.
Yeah. It was the 90s, though, too. So. But gay marriage was not legalized in New York until 2011. So even though they were getting married, it wasn't legal. But it's a personal commitment ceremony.
Right.
I applaud.
Yes.
Anyway, next, shortly before the episode aired, this is really funny. NBC hired 200 part-time phone operators to take what they expected would be a flood of phone calls and complaints.
Oh,
they were expecting the lesbian wedding on TV.
They were expecting backlash.
Yes. You want to know how many calls they received?
I'm going to guess 30.
11. They hired 200 people and received 11 pushback phone calls, which is pretty good.
Yes.
And then in the one scene when Rachel said if her mother wanted to be like her, should just consider copying her hairstyle. Besides the line being a jab at the trend of copying the Rachel haircut, remember?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Nearly 30 years earlier, Marlo Thomas, who plays Sandra Green, became famous for a hairstyle that girls were trying to emulate when she starred on the TV show That Girl.
That Girl, right.
Yeah, in 1966.
Right. And we had a little meme about that.
Yeah, we did.
Because
Phoebe's hair looked like it.
No, Monica's.
Both of them. Both of them had their hair like that.
But Monica looked
has the
exactly
brown hair.
like that. Yeah.
And then last piece of trivia, Marlo Thomas, Sandra Green, received an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Guest Actress in a Comedy Series for her work in this episode.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Pretty fun.
Yeah. All right. So what are your episode reactions?
Let's see. Well, this is a fun, busy episode that has a lot going on.
Yeah.
I think Carol and Susan are a lovely couple. I'm glad to see them celebrate their love.
Yeah.
Monica is full on crazy in a couple of the scenes. Joey smells farts. Chandler doesn't have a ton to do, but he still gets a couple memorable moments in there. Mm-hmm. And then Phoebe's thing, Not my favorite thing, but they still get solid comedy bits out of it.
Yeah.
Even if the payoff is lacking.
It's not that great. It's like they had to think of something for her to do during this episode.
Right.
So I agree. Although I don't like, and I put it in quotes, I don't like Chandler in this episode. I think he has a lot of awkward jokes. He does say some funny things, but for the most part, at the lesbian wedding, it's just cringy.
Yeah.
It's just so cringy.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that when we get there. And that's I was thinking of, when they're prepping the food, and at the end, when they tease him for being married last, those are the moments that the wedding is awkward.
So I do love that Ross loves Carol so much, he convinces her to hell with, George and Adelaide or whatever their names are, and walks her down the aisle. I think that's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I think Sandra Green is a great character, but so sad.
Yeah.
When she says, I married my Barry.
Oh, my God.
That's so sad. And Monica, like you said, is in peak Monica mode.
Yeah.
All right, favorite lines. There was a lot in this one.
Yeah, a lot of fun lines.
But I absolutely love this, and I might say this a few times. Do you want me to cry? Is that what you want? Do you want to see me cry? It's like, are you trying to get me to cry? Because that's what's about to happen.
Well, it's funny because I've seen you in that mode.
I totally wrote that in my notes. I totally wrote that.
I've seen you in that mode where you're kind of like, do you want to see me? Like crying is like the last thing that seems like what would happen.
Right.
But you are on the verge of it.
All right. So what was your favorite line?
All right. So like you, I went through a couple. I ended up with, oh, wait, I remember. She also said she wanted to sleep with me one last time.
That is such an Adam line. I totally thought you would pick that one.
Well, I love that line because, again, I think Phoebe's being a little nutty in this episode.
Yeah.
And I like that even the old guy's like, okay, I'm going to take a jab at her.
Right. I'm going to see if this works. So favorite moment, I had to go with Chandler's Mr. Rogers impression. Who's the bitterest man in the living room? I just think that is fucking hilarious.
Aw. I'm going to go with Chandler for my favorite moment, too.
Oh, yeah?
At the very end, when Chandler gets picked last for marriage.
Doesn't Ben count? Which is funny, because he's the next one to get married.
Well, Ross gets married a couple times, right?
Yeah, in between. You're right. All right, favorite outfit. I saw in the notes, and I almost picked Susan's overalls. They were super cute, but she's only in them for the scene for like a half a second. So I do like Phoebe's dress that she wears to the wedding. It's very 50s. It's polka dot. I would totally rock that.
Yeah. Me, I love Jane Sibbett. Yeah. So I went with Carol's wedding dress. Aww. I don't love the hat. That it's kind of like Rachel's veil. But Susan's a lucky woman.
That she is. All right, so themes we explored this episode. Theme 1, lesbian weddings.
Yes, same-sex marriages. It doesn't matter to me.
No.
You marry whoever you feel like it.
Right?
And get divorced when you're unhappy later. I don't know.
That's what you do.
Theme 2, parents in unhappy marriages.
Oh. Theme 3, not going into the light.
And theme 4, taking the high road for someone's happiness.
Yeah, I think Ross did that a lot in this episode.
Yeah, this is a good, friendly Ross episode.
Right.
If you want to see the good guy that he is underneath all the neurotic mess, you get to see it here.
Yes, for sure. All right, we're going to take a quick break before we break down the episode.
All right. Mrs. Wallace.
Yes?
I'm Dr. Draco Moray, your sister's neurosurgeon.
Tell me, is she going to be all right?
I'm afraid the situation is much more dire than we expected. Your sister is suffering from a subcranial hematoma.
Oh.
Perhaps we can discuss this further over coffee.
Always. All right, we're back.
We're back.
All right. We have the cold open in Ross's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Ross, Carol, Susan, and baby Ben are there.
Yes.
So Ross is giving Carol and Susan the diaper bag, Mr. Winky, and then he pulls a blanket off to reveal Ben.
Yeah, which is kind of a cute thing.
Yeah.
I like to think that they had to cover him for the lights. On the stage.
These are too bright for the baby.
And then, like you said, Susan tries to rope me into that best outfit straight away with the cuter overalls.
Yeah, I like her shirt, too.
Yeah.
So Carol asks how everything went, and Ross indicates there was a projectile vomiting incident, but Ben started it.
Ben started it. Mm-hmm.
So Carol says they have to go, but Susan does that throat clearing noise you use when you want someone to say something that you don't want to be the one to say it.
I think that she's been waiting the whole time. You said you were going to say it as soon as we walked in the door. Now we're almost leaving.
So now you have to say it. So Carol says she's got some news about us.
Us? You
not,
and me?
No. Not Ross and Carol. The other us. Susan and Carol. So Carol says they're getting married. And Ross says, as in, I now pronounce you wife and wife married? And so Carol invites him to the wedding, and she says, we'd like to have you there. And he goes, why wouldn't I come? I had fun at the first wedding. And then he angrily folds the stroller. He tells them how happy he is for them. He's reveling in their joy, baby, as he pinches his finger.
Yes.
And this is another one of those awesome Susan moments. She goes, did you just snap your finger in there?
Yeah, the only thing I wish is that his hand was a little bit out of frame.
So, yeah.
Because you could see him do the quick move.
Right,
and
right.
he's not hurt.
No.
Which is fine.
But it would have been funnier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Susan calls it out. And Carol says, do you want us to leave? And he goes, mm-hmm. But I think she's reveling in that situation.
Okay, so then we're at Monica and Rachel's. Monica, Chandler, Joey, and Ross are all there. And the fellows are hanging out in front of the TV while Monica's on the phone in the kitchen. Ross comments that it's so cool Joey's going to be on the boob tube. They're waiting for the days of our lives. And Joey confesses that it really hit him last night. He's going to be on Days of Our Lives. And then he started thinking about how these are the days of our lives. And Ross and Chandler exchanged looks. And then it occurred to me when I was taking notes, Joe, that these are the days of our lives. It works on just that one level, but for everybody. Anyway, then Monica hangs up the phone and yells, "Yes!" And Monica's excited because Carol and Susan's caterer was in a mountain biking accident and is now in a full body cast. Ouch.
Oh. Ow.
And all the boys...
YouTube videos that we watch when people fall. They don't show the aftermath.
And then all the boys yell, "Yes!" to mock Monica's excitement over somebody being in a full body cast.
Schadenfreude.
Yeah. Monica's excited because they want her to cater, which is cool because she's never done that before and she needs the money. And this isn't a problem for you, is it, Ross? And Ross answers, would it matter?
Oh, you're so great.
That reminds me of me and you, too. You'd be like, I'm going to do this. You're not bothered by that, are you?
Oh, good, because I'm going to do it.
And Joey questions if Ross is really not going to the wedding. And he says he isn't, but as sitcom viewers, we all know that time will tell. And plus, we've all seen this episode like 100 times. So he's going to the wedding. Ross points out that the ladies already live together. Why do they need to get married? And then Monica points out, because they love each other and they want to celebrate their love with people that are close to them. And Ross is like, well, if you call that a reason.
I do like that line, though, the way that he delivers it. Well, if you want to call that a reason.
Right. He's like, I get it, but damn it. Chandler takes this opportunity to do the little Mr. Rogers bit.
Yeah.
Who's the bitterest man in the living room and takes off his shoes and is like, hi, neighbor. It's pretty weird and funny.
It's funny. I love it.
Monica points out that Ross has gotten past all this, but he says if she was marrying a guy, none of them would expect him to go. Which is true. Which is
100%, yes.
And Joey says that if Carol were marrying a guy, she'd be like the worst lesbian ever. And then Rachel runs in, asking, did I miss it? Did I miss it? And Joey explains that he's next up on the TV after this guy shoots himself. And we see a guy with a gun. And then Chandler says, whoa, she's pretty. And then Joey says,
yeah,
the pretty lady, it was very nice too. And she helped him with working with the cameras and with the smell the fart acting. And then they all sit there on the couch like, smell the fart acting? You're going to have to explain that statement. And Joey explains that they have so many lines to learn so fast that sometimes you need a minute to remember your next one. So while you're thinking of it, you take a big pause while you look all intense. And he does this look.
Right.
And it looks very much like he's smelling a fart. Hence, smell the fart acting. It's funny because he does the sniffing too.
Yeah.
But they all watch the TV. They see Joey as Dr. Draco Amore for the first time. He uses doctor words to another character. Then he takes that long smell the fart acting pause before subcranial hematoma.
Leave it to Joey to use the technique right off the bat.
Right.
You know? Like, first scene.
She
scene.
probably told him at 30 seconds before they went. After which his character hits on Mrs. Wallace and asks her out for coffee, and getting a sly smile in return for drink. They all congratulate him. Nice, excellent. And Chandler adds, for a minute there, I actually thought you were trying to smell something.
He was so convincing. So then we cut. We're just actually later into the scene. So we're still at Monica and Rachel's place. Still Monica, Rachel, Chandler, Joey, and Ross. Mm-hmm. And they're all making him do bits from Days of Our Lives. Mm-hmm. Damn it, Braverman. It's right there on the chart. Isn't Braverman the name of the lady downstairs whose cheesecake they steal later on in the series?
Oh,
man, they cannot think of original names. So funny.
You need a phone book in the writer's room.
They all love his acting, but Chandler and Ross have to go to work. Chan says he has a big dinosaur bone to inspect. Ross goes, no, that's me.
Oh, right. I do like that.
It's funny. So they open the door and Phoebe is standing outside. Like she forgot how to open the door for a minute. She thanks the guys and Ross asks if everything's okay. And she says, no, and proceeds to tell them that one of her clients died while getting a massage. And Chandler says, that's a little more relaxed than you like them to get.
I like when Phoebe's not in the mood to deal with this shit. Yeah. She's just like, whatever.
She just moves on. She was 82. Her name was Mrs. Edelman. And she said she woke up that morning and thought she'd have a little breakfast, take a little walk, have a massage, and then bam!
Bus?
Oh, no, wrong episode.
Oh.
But that was it for Mrs. Edelman. That's all she got to do that day.
Mrs. Edelman, another possible victim.
Oh, my God. Will you stop your fan fiction? The friends are all murderers.
You don't like murders. You don't like the erotic friend fiction. What can I do?
Shh.
Oh, fine.
So Phoebe was cleansing her aura when she passed, and she thinks her spirit went into her. And I like because they all take a step back. Like, what?
Oh, auras. Okay, so then we're in Central Perk. All 6 of the friends, plus the dancing extra from the Hootie episode
really?
is in
He's
the
back
background.
There?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Monica finds it hard deciding between lamb or duck. We don't eat a lot of lamb or duck.
No, I've heard that duck is a very greasy meat, so it doesn't sound appealing.
No.
And I like gyros or gyros. Gyros. But you don't, so I've had more lamb than you.
Well, I don't like that they put 5 full onions on top of it.
You don't have to get the onions.
Anyway, Chandler points out that lambs are scarier. Otherwise, the movie would have been Silence of the Ducks. Precious. Rachel comes in with a tray asking who ordered what, and everything on that tray is gross. And they point it out. Ross says he believes that he ordered the half-drunk cappuccino with the lipstick on the rim. Chandler wonders if the one with the cigarette butt in it is decaf. Rachel moans, and Joey can't believe she's so uptight about her mom coming.
Right.
But now, in episode 11 of season 2... is the first time her mother's coming to visit her in the city.
Yeah, my mom would have waited until season 2 as well.
Well, your mom would never go to see you in New York City.
No, it's true.
Rachel doesn't want her mom to think that just because she did not marry Barry, the scumbag cheater, Barry, that her life is total crap.
Yeah.
So Phoebe, in her dead old woman voice, then adds, "You want to talk about crap? Try listening to Stella Needman tell her story of her and Rod Steiger for the 100th time."
And then on the DVD, there was a cut line where Phoebe immediately apologizes and says, "Sorry, guys. At least you don't have to hear the stuff she says in my head."
Oh. But Joey, in this moment being the Adam surrogate, asks how long this lady is going to have to be with us. And Phoebe is like, "IDK. She must have unfinished business and stuff like ghosts." And then tells Chandler to sit up. And he listens. Then Marlo Thomas enters the coffee shop as Sandra Green, Rachel's mother. And her and Rachel hug and kiss and greet each other and stuff. And she says, "Well, this is where you work. Is it a living room? Is it a restaurant? Who can tell?" And she guesses that's part of the fun of it. I think it's a fun detail that Marlo comes in with that snooty air about her.
Snooty.
Snotty.
Snotty.
Very early season 1 Rachel vibes.
And that was from Ferris Bueller.
Rachel says, "Come meet my friends." And Mrs. Green spots Monica and says, "Last time I saw you, it was eat or be eaten." Lovely.
Yeah, it's a little passive-aggressive greeting there.
Yeah.
Nice, Sandra.
Yeah, so Rachel introduces the rest of them, ending with, "You remember Ross?" who gets up to shake her hand, and it looks like she turns and ignores him on purpose.
Yeah, I think she does.
I think maybe she heard about that pro-cons list.
I don't doubt that.
And Mrs. Green says, "So what do you think of my daughter in the apron with the big job?" And it's hard to make something sound both over-important and belittling at the same time, but she manages to walk that tightrope.
She's so good at it.
And I do like Rachel says, "Oh, Mom," like a little child. It's funny. But Mrs. Green continues, "If you didn't pour the coffee, no one would have anything to drink." And Chandler chimes in,
Believe me, sometimes that happens. And he has a hideous vest on in this scene.
Yes.
It's not a sweater vest, but it's a hideous vest.
"Hideous vest
Yeah.
does not count as a sweater
No,
vest."
no.
For a minute, I was like, wait,
Yeah, I know.
is that a sweater vest? Damn it, no. Silk in the back. But Mrs. Green explains that she never worked, going straight from her father's house to the sorority house to her husband's house. You get a sense of regret in her voice before she says that she's proud of Rachel, presumably for not following in her footsteps.
All right, so there's a cut line from Sandra on the DVD. She says, "Let's make a day of it. We'll go get lunch, we'll shop." And Rachel says, "Mom, I have to work." And Sandra says, "What, no one else can pour coffee?"
Yes.
So it's like, look at you with this awesome job. Nobody would be able to do it if you didn't. What, no
Right.
one else can do this?
Right. And then my next note was Rachel is so happy that her mom is proud.
Right.
But then that cut line kind of negates that. So.
Right.
And then Mrs. Edelman, speaking through Phoebe, pipes up again, saying Mrs. Green reminds her of Evelyn Dermer. Of course, that's before she got the lousy facelift. Now she looks like Soupy Sales. And Joey asks who Evelyn Dermer is. And Phoebe goes, "I don't know. Who's Soupy Sales?"
So don't fear, dear listeners. I looked it up.
Oh, did you not know who Soupy Sales was?
I did, but I didn't know if other people might not
Right.
know who Soupy Sales
Well,
was.
normally when we do that, we say for the children out
All
there.
right. So for the young people out there in the audience, Soupy Sales was an American comedian and actor best known for his children's television show called Lunch with Soupy Sales. It ran from 1953 to 1966. His real name was Milton Suppman.
Ooh.
And he had two brothers, older, and they had nicknamed Hambone and Chicken Bone, and Milton was dubbed Soup Bone, which later was shortened to Soupy.
Soupy. That's a lot of old-timey.
Did you have a nickname when you were younger?
No.
No?
No.
No. Okay.
But nobody ever that's why I love nicknames so much,
Right.
because
Adam doesn't have
Adam has no nicknames. Nobody ever called me a nickname.
My dad used to call me Shorty because he was tall. He's not so tall anymore, but 'cause he's 81. But yeah, he used to call me Shorty. That was my nickname.
Well, at least it's apt.
All right. So now we're at Monica and Rachel's, and Mrs. Green and Rachel are there. And Mrs. Green points out the unattractive nude man playing the cello.
Oh.
And Rachel says, just be grateful he's not playing a smaller instrument. She says she has some life. And Rachel says she knows that they were not happy with her not marrying Barry and getting the big house in the suburbs and all the security. But this is just so much better for her. And Sandra says, I do know. She didn't love Barry. And she's never seen her happier.
Aww.
And then she drops the bombshell. I look at you and I think, oh, this is what I want. And Rachel says, for me? No, not just for you. And then she says, I'm considering leaving your father.
But why? Mr. Green seems like such a cool guy to live with.
Yeah, an angry smoking guy. I think I lived with him. So Monica walks in and tells him, tell me if this is too cute. Lesbian wedding, chicken breasts. Rachel gets nauseous and says, oh, God. Monica's confused and says, it's not like I'm putting nipples on him. And that's where the scene ends. But on the DVD, there's a whole other huge scene that was cut.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to sum it.
Yeah, summarize.
All right.
Summarize it up for me.
Rachel comes out of the bathroom and Mrs. Green says, don't be mad, honey. Do you want me to make those marshmallow treats you like so much?
Oh, yes.
I could call Carmela and find out how.
Damn it.
Rachel says she thought she was happy, and Sandra tells her it's like when you're driving on the highway and you look up and you don't know how you got there. That's what my life is like. And Sandra says she sees her having adventures and hanging out. She wants a Chandler. Rach says, don't leave Daddy for Chandler. Your life is, and then she goes on to tell her how hard her life is.
Right.
And she can barely make rent and she never gets to shop. And Mrs. Green says, oh, honey, I would be doing the same thing, but with money. It's very different.
No. I would have alimony.
I wouldn't be struggling at all. I'm glad they cut that out because it was kind of like, oh my God.
Right. Well, she comes off a little too
snotty.
Yeah, too snotty.
All right, so now we're in Central Perk. All 6 friends are there. Ross says, you had no idea? And she says, no. And Joey says, they didn't fight a lot? And she goes, they didn't even talk to each other. How was I supposed to know they were having problems?
Oh, Rachel off in her own little Rachel world.
Do your little hair flip.
There, that's for the listeners.
You know, these parents sound awfully familiar.
No.
An angry smoking guy. They never talk to each other. Should have got divorced. Anyway, Mrs. Edelman. Phoebe says that in her day, divorce was not an option.
Yeah, and everybody just ignores that.
Right. So Joey is not amused by her in the slightest and says, hey, look who's up.
Yeah.
Rach says she's an adult and parents are supposed to get divorced when kids are little, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
I don't know why she thinks that now that she's an adult, nobody should get divorced.
Well, she's like, I didn't have to worry about it. Yeah, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Because it
doesn't affect you in any way.
It doesn't affect you.
So Monica tries to spin it by saying it's flattering. She's doing it because she wants to be more like you. And Rachel says, couldn't she just copy my haircut?
Aw, zing at herself at the TV show? I don't know.
So Chandler says he went to a shrink when his parents divorced. And he said that all kids have a tendency to blame themselves. But in this case, it's true.
Oh, Chandler.
So then Mr. Edelman comes into the coffee shop. And Chandler says, my mail order grandfather hasn't come yet. Phoebe greets Mr. Edelman, and she thanks him for meeting her. And he says it's okay. She only cut into his very busy day of sitting. And she asks him if he wants to sit, to which he says, no, I spent half the morning trying to get up.
Thank you, dear.
So Phoebe explains that when his wife's spirit left her body, it stuck around in Phoebe.
My wife is in you.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny the way you said that.
Like, I would have been like,
what?
So you're making my wife's death about you now. Okay.
So she asks Mr. Edelman what unfinished business she might have had. And Mr. Edelman says, the only thing I can think of is she used to say that before she died, she wanted to see everything. Everything? Oh, that's a lot of stuff.
And she never left Manhattan, so chop, chop.
You're screwed. And then Mr. Edelman says, oh, I remember. She said she wanted to sleep with me one last time.
Oh.
And Phoebe says she hears laughing in her head. And then Mr. Edelman turns to Joey and says, it was worth a shot. And Joey is in full support.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, I mean, I would have taken a shot. All right. So then we're at Monica and Rachel's. I don't know why I slipped in the English accent there. Monica and Rachel and Mrs. Green. Monica's cooking. Mm-hmm. Rachel and her mom are looking through photographs printed out, not on a tablet or a phone like a regular person.
Are we the last generation to have printed pictures?
Probably. I mean, unless you go out of your way to print something for a reason.
It's like we're the equivalent of color television or something.
Yeah.
And then there was a quick cut line where Sandra says, Rachel makes a cute martini with an olive hat from the Halloween pictures.
From the Halloween pictures, yes. And then, the whole old Halloween pictures from 3 years ago. And Barry went as a regular dentist instead of as an orthodontist, which he was. So very, very clever. I feel like I'm boring people repeating that. Monica interjects. Remember when I said thank you, but I really didn't need your help?
I think you said, don't touch that and get the hell out of my kitchen.
Really weird. Anyway, I planned and I planned and I planned, but I didn't plan enough time to do the work.
Hey, Mon, you want some help?
If you want. And then Phoebe comes in, complaining about her day, trying to get her imaginary friend to see everything. Museum of Modern Art, Rockefeller Center, Statue of Liberty. But she's still with her, and she hasn't seen everything yet. But just wait, the payoff is going to be mediocre.
Oh.
Phoebe says the old lady has to go to the bathroom again, and then she stops to tell Marlo that she has such a pretty face as she heads to the head. Marlo is dancing around like they told her music was going to be added in post and they forgot. She's doing this little...
She is.
Oh, it's so fun here. And I'm like...
there's nothing going on.
No music. And I thought for a minute it was too low.
Oh,
yeah. Like, I'm going deaf. So I turned it up. I still didn't hear anything. But she keeps saying how much fun everything is. And I assume just being in the absence of Mr. Green is relieving.
Yeah.
But she's saying that it's just the girls. And she has an idea what they could do and asks if anyone has any marijuana. And Rachel freaks out. Monica assures them nobody's smoking pot around the food quick before Phoebe comes out of the bathroom. Because if anyone told them it's Phoebe... But Sandra, that's Sandra Green, doesn't really care. She never tried it and thought she might give it a go. Then she asks, so what's new in sex? And Rachel starts to flip the fuck out even more. Usually she's only this mad at Ross. Maybe Monica when she shops with someone else. But she repeats her mother's question back to her. What's new in sex? And then Sandra says... Well, the only man I've ever been with is your father.
I'm dicing. I don't hear anything.
That's what Monica interjects. But Mrs. Green continues. I mean, no offense to your dad, sweetie, but I was thinking there might be more. Subtext there is not flattering to Mr. Green.
He doesn't come off very good in this.
It's like in Thelma and Louise when Brad Pitt sleeps with Thelma. And then she's like, now I see what all the fuss is about.
Oh my God. She was like, whoa.
It's like, other people seem to really like it, but I don't know. Rachel is on full tilt now.
Right.
I mean, she's refusing conversations, which is her go-to. But she complains to her mom about dropping this bomb before you even tell daddy. Okay.
I hate it.
Men are too old for mommy.
Yes.
Women are too old for daddy.
Yes.
It's a hard line. It sounds gross at best, disturbing at worst.
Yeah, I do not like when people say daddy after the age of 15.
Right. So Rachel is kind of oblivious, doesn't know if her mom wants her blessing, wants her to talk her out of it. What do you want me to do? She asks her mommy.
No.
And Mrs. Green figured Rachel, out of everyone, would understand. And Rachel is like, why the fuck would I understand?
Oh.
And then she drops the very sad revelation. You didn't marry your Barry, honey, but I married mine. Fucking mic drop. Jesus.
That is harsh. That's probably one of the saddest lines I've ever heard. weird.
That's some fucked up shit, man.
She was like, you should understand. You didn't want to marry that. I did. I married that.
So sad.
It is. All right, so we're still at Monica's. It's later. Monica, Phoebe, Joey, Chandler, and hiding on the couch is Ross. So Monica's like a drill sergeant. Okay, people, we're in trouble here. We have 12 hours and 36 minutes left. Move, move, move. Chandler says she should have German subtitles.
Schnell! Schnell!
And Monica tells Joey to speed it up, and he says the pigs are reluctant to get in the blankets. So Monica's making pigs in a blanket as an hors d'oeuvre for a wedding?
The problem is, I don't know how long before they told her about the wedding.
Oh, I see.
To the wedding. Because, again, the episode starts with them inviting Ross.
Right. So
and then the wedding is at the end of the episode. So was it a week? I'm assuming it was pretty fast.
Okay. All right, so Phoebe asks, how did this happen? And Monica says my favorite line. Do you want me to cry? Is that what you want? Do you want to see me cry? Sir, no, sir. So Monica says, come on, Ross. And he says, no. And she says she knows he had issues, but if he doesn't help, she's going to create a new appetizer called Pigs in Ross. He reluctantly gets up, and she barks at him to ball a melon. Chandler starts whining about dicing while he gets to ball a melon. Dirty looks abound.
Yeah, I think it is rude to just sit there and be like, I'm not helping because I'm not supporting that.
Right.
It's like, then leave. You got your own apartment.
Why are you here? So there's a knock at the door, and Mon answers, and it's Carol. And she asks how it's going, and Mon says, it's going great. I got my happy little helpers.
Yes.
To which they all groan. I love that part. It's so funny. And Carol says, fine, whatever. And Ross asks, what's the matter? And Carol says, nothing. Everything. She thinks they're going to call off the wedding. And Mon shouts, what? You're still going to pay me, right? And Ross shoots her the dirtiest look. And then she goes, or something a little less selfish.
Yeah, that's pretty selfish.
So Ross continues to ask Carol what happened. And she says that her parents called to say they weren't coming to the wedding. And she knew they were having trouble with the whole thing, but they're her parents and they're supposed to give her away. And everyone in the kitchen takes a break and looks sad as they listen to Carol tell the story. And she says she and Susan got into a big fight because she said maybe they should call off the wedding. And Susan said they weren't doing it for them. They were doing it for us. And if she can't see that, then maybe she should call off the wedding.
Oh, I don't like sad Carol. I just want to give her a hug.
I know. And then here's one of the most endearing moments of Ross. He is whiny, he is possessive, and he uses too much hair gel. But he is a huge softie and truly loves Carol. And he reluctantly says, I made myself cry.
Aww.
So, Ross reluctantly says, Susan's right. Why does it make me so sad?
Because it's
familiar.
sad.
So he says Susan's right, and he asks her if he loves her, and not to be too emphatic about it. And she says, of course I do. And he says, well, then that's it. If George and Adelaide can't accept it, that's their too bad. Ross says if his parents would have not wanted him to marry Carol, there's no way it would have stopped him. I got to agree. No way.
But Ross, she's a lesbian.
Too bad.
I married her anyway.
So he convinces her to do it, and Mon says, so we're back on? Yep, we're back on. You heard the woman. Peel, chop, devil. The happy helpers all run back to their stations, and Ross and Carol hug, and Monica says, I can't believe I lost 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes gone. All right, so then we're at the wedding hall and art gallery from the looks of it. And, well, there's lots of people there, including the friends. Joey and Chandler are standing in the back, and Joey remarks how futile it is. All these women and nothing. He feels like Superman without his powers. I have a cape, and yet I cannot fly.
Well, his jacket is big enough, he might be able to fly.
Yeah, he can parachute off a building at the very least.
It's so big.
And then Chandler says that Joey can now understand how he feels every single day. The world is his lesbian wedding. Poor straight men in the crooked world. The wedding music starts playing, and Phoebe, committed to the bit, is opening a candy in that loud, rude way old people do, so that everybody knows they're too old to give a shit about anybody anymore. She gets looks, but offers candy to everyone.
Remember when we were at the movies with your grandma? And she got out like a
She got out
plastic bag.
a plastic grocery bag that
Yes.
had cellophane bags inside of it.
And it was tied, so she had to untie the plastic
She's
bag.
rooting around, and I was like, people were turning and looking. I was like, Grandma, wow.
And then she kept offering us candy, and I kept going, no!
Monica then appears pushing a tuxedoed up Ben down the aisle. And then Susan comes out, and she's being walked down the aisle by Ed Harris from the beginning of The Rock and her mom. And I like Susan. I like Jessica Hetch. I'm only going to mention that she had a jacket and a hat on in passing.
You did not like those.
And not mention anymore. Then Ross walks Carol down the aisle. I mean, come on.
Her ex-husband has to
Yeah.
walk her down the aisle. Aw.
I'm normally too cranky to cry by the time things happen in real weddings. Yeah, what with the parking and the people and everything else. I'm mentally checked out by the time the wedding happens.
You're like, I don't even know half these people.
But Ross giving Carol away is super sweet. Like I said, I don't love Carol's hat, but she looks great aside from that.
Yeah, she does.
I mean, even the dress looks dated.
Yeah.
But she still looks amazing.
They had a little theme going. I'm
Yeah.
not quite sure what the theme was, but it was definitely a theme.
The theme was lesbian wedding.
And that was the writers, like, this is what a lesbian wedding would look like. I said a lesbian wedding.
Lesbian wedding. But then I like that Ross has a little moment when he won't let her go.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's cute.
Then the lesbian minister announces that God likes gay marriage because some people in the viewing audience might need talked into the whole thing.
Only 11 people.
No, those 11 people were beyond being talked into
They
it.
didn't want to talk about it.
But they move on fairly quickly.
Yeah.
And that's when Phoebe, Mrs. Alderman, the bit pays off with a loud, "Oh my God, now I've seen everything." Ugh. So not just the death about Phoebe, but the lesbian wedding now has to be about Phoebe too. And she announces that the lady's gone. And somebody thought that was going to pay off great. I don't know. Not me.
All right, so we're still at the Lesbian Hall / art gallery. Still lots of people there. It's later after the wedding. There's shot of 2 brides on the wedding cake. It's cute.
No, yes.
Yeah. So anywho, Mon says, "Would you look at them?" And Ross says, "He can't help but look at them."
Yeah.
Joey asks Susan's dad how those pigs in the blanket are treating him, and he says, "I wrapped those bad boys." Which he gives him a weird look. So Phoebe tells Chandler that she misses Rose and that she was a big part of her life, and now she feels a little alone. And the cutest little lesbian, played by Leah Delaria, she's been in a lot of stuff, but most might remember her for playing Big Boo in Orange is the New Black.
Oh.
Yeah. So she overhears Phoebe and offers to get her a drink, and Phoebe agrees, and Chandler laughs. I love his face during this whole scene.
Yeah.
This interaction between him and this Leah. It's so funny. And then Chandler, unhitting on a lesbian, says, "I shouldn't bother coming out with the line, right?" And she walks away.
Just talk to her. She's a person.
That was Nellie from The Office.
Well, I mean, I don't understand the thing of like Joey
Right.
and Chandler being at a lesbian wedding. Oh, I can't hit on anybody
Right,
here.
so what is the point of me being here?
Yeah, I can't just talk to a woman.
Right. You can't just go, "Oh, how do you know the brides?"
Right. So weird. You see Mrs. Green in I'm like, why is she even at the wedding?
So she was in town. She accompanied Rachel.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you might ask the same question, like, why are Phoebe and Chandler and Joey there?
Right. Yeah, never mind. Sitcom, I
That's
got
right.
it. It's just sitcom. Everybody who's in the episode is at the wedding.
Anyhow, Mrs. Green is having fun. She danced with a wonderfully large woman and wants to keep her options open. To
Right.
which Rachel replies, "There's more alcohol, right?" So Susan walks over to a sulking Ross and tells him he did a good thing today.
Aw.
And she asks him if he wants to dance. And
Joe's
she'll
starting to lose it again.
I know. It's so sweet. And she asks him if he wants to dance. And she goes, "I'll let you lead." And he gives in, and Carol looks on so happy.
Yeah.
And then Chandler ruins it by saying,
Penis schmenis.
"We're all people," but she still walks away.
Okay, now we're at the stinger. Monica and Rachel's, all 6 friends, and Ben, because they're off on their honeymoon.
That's right.
So they're all worn out and they're chillaxing after the reception. And Monica throws up a quiz. Which one of us will be the first to get married? And Ross throws a bucket of Ross on the question. Well, technically, I was already married and making your question unnecessary and frankly quite silly. And Phoebe says, yeah, I was married too, dumbass. And Rachel thinks she had a wedding too. She did not.
She did not go to the wedding.
No. Monica says she was just trying to have a fucking conversation. Get off her back already. Didn't anybody hear the word next in the sentence? And then Joey posits which one of them will be the last to get married. And they all look at Chandler.
Aww.
Common sense, says Joey, right?
Oh, for sure.
But Chandler says, isn't Ben in this? And they all go, yeah. And then he gets, and that's the end of the episode.
That's it. Cut and print. We're going to take another short break. We'll be right back. All right, people, we're in trouble here. We've only got 12 hours and 36 minutes left. Move, move, move!
Monica, I feel like you should have German subtitles.
Joey, speed it up!
I'm sorry, it's the pigs. They're reluctant to get in the blankets. Monica, how did this happen? I thought you had this all planned out.
Do you want me to cry? Is that what you want? Do you want to see me cry?
Sir, no, sir. Hey, how come I get stuck dicing when he gets the ball of melon?
Adam, that's later.
I know, I just wanted to say ball of melon.
Oh my God, grow up.
Ooh. All right, we're back for the wrap up.
We're back. So, what did we learn from this episode?
Joe.
I think I have felt like Monica before. You mentioned it. I have planned and planned and planned, but then never have enough time or resources to do it. I think I do it when I think about a day and I'm like, I'll just drive here and do this and then drive here and then drive here. And you're like, there's only 24 hours in a day.
Right. You have 6 places to go. And I'm like,
I also think it was weird that Rachel thought her parents couldn't get divorced because they didn't get divorced when she was a kid, so now it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I just thought that was weird. And come on, Chandler, do better. Don't talk to people like that.
Yeah. Well, I learned that Mrs. Green is ready for just about anything. Monica could use a gummy, and the dead can possess people. You know, like a demon. Ross is sweet underneath all the neurotic energy. And Carol and Susan... And Carol and Susan will live happily ever after.
So cute.
Final thoughts.
All right, what's your final thoughts?
I feel like Dr. Green may have done some serious psychological abuse.
Oh, yeah. It goes without saying. And I don't think I want Monica to cater anything with pigs in the blanket. No, those aren't good.
You want Monica to do salmon for you all the way.
Right. I want something fancy. So I'm just going to skip over the sweater vest tracker.
What?
All right. How many sweater vests did we have this episode?
We had 0 sweater vests.
And how many do we have?
0 so far for the season. So the total is 0.
There, are you happy?
Yes, we still have to do the sweater vest track. You don't get to just drop it.
So what was our IMDb rating?
All right. So the IMDb rating is 7.9 out of 10 stars with 5,700 ratings.
Okay. So I picked a rating that they said 10 out of 10.
Okay.
They like this episode. The title is Ross at His Best. It's by J.Y. Marshall 9704315. And it was written November of 2023.
I hope that's not his phone number.
Right? All right, so remember, this is the review. Remember, it was 1996 when standards were, while progressing, different.
Yes.
Ross had every reason to keep 100 miles from the wedding of his ex-wife who left him for a woman and seriously considered replacing Ross's name and Ben's surname with her soon-to-be wife's. Furthermore, Susan has, up until this episode, rubbed her and Carol's relationship in Ross's face at any given opportunity. Yet, in spite of that, he couldn't deal with Carol being unhappy and still had the fortitude to give Carol away at her wedding.
Aww.
Ross has lots of flaws and my least favorite of the gang, but that kind of bravery and decency is unheard of even to this day. And I would have liked to have seen one more scene though, where Ross had a little silent cry in private, but then put on his brave face and went back out there. Kind of like us.
I want just a scene of Ross just weeping in the shower before the wedding.
Oh my God, that's too funny. All right, so what's coming up next week?
Next week, all right. So we've had a bunch of low-rated episodes in a row, and we're about to get a string of big hitters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So next week is the one after the Super Bowl, part 1. And I had to explain this to you.
Yes.
Because you were like, why the fuck is it called the one after the Super Bowl? They used to show sitcoms after the Super Bowl.
We just don't watch the Super Bowl, so I never knew that.
Right, yes. You're married to a non-sports person. So.
Yeah.
So, guest stars, we have Fred Willard, Chris Isaac, Dan Castellaneta, and Brooke Shields.
Yay!
Ross learns not to believe everything the zoo tells you. Joey has a stalker fan that doesn't understand how televisions work. And Phoebe sings for children. What could go wrong?
It is a fun episode.
It is.
All right, are you ready for some maladjusted content?
Yes, are you?
I am. We watched a lot of movies this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we watched Napoleon Dynamite. We actually watched it last week, but we forgot to talk about it, so we wanted to talk about it this week.
She was like, damn it, I forgot to mention Napoleon Dynamite.
So the first time we went to watch Napoleon Dynamite, I knew nothing about it. And Adam does this to me all the time. Like, he'll just start a movie and not say anything because I'm indecisive sometimes. I don't know if I want to watch it or not. So he makes the decision for me. And if I don't want to watch it, I can always play on my phone. But if I get into it, then... Right. So he puts in Napoleon Dynamite, and I'm just kind of like, ugh, what the hell is this? And then the first scene when that little kid asks him, what are you going to do today, Napoleon?
Whatever I feel like, jeez!
We laughed so hard. We had to pause it because the scene kept going, and we were...
like, what the fuck was that?
I was not expecting that at all. So even though it's a dumb, goofy movie, it is so funny.
Well, it's an hour and a half of things you're not expecting at all to happen. Yeah. That's what makes it fun.
Oh my God, he marries LaFonda. She gives him that tape. He does that little dance in his moon boots. It's so cute and funny.
So cute.
And then I don't know why you landed on this.
I can tell you why.
Okay.
If you want me to explain it.
The one with Burt Reynolds?
Yes, Smokey and the Bandit.
Okay.
I think it was on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah. And we had taken a gummy an hour and a half earlier. So I was like, hey, I've never seen Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh my God.
Some people really like it. I don't think it's going to be up my alley, but like sometimes, I mean, we watch a lot of Riff Tracks movies, Mystery Science Theater, 3000 movies.
Yeah.
We watch a lot of bad movies just because
Red Letter Media.
It's fun to watch bad stuff sometimes. So I was watching it. Turned it on as more of an experiment than something I would actually love.
And the experiment went horribly wrong. That was the most racist movie I saw. Like, blatantly racist. It was so bad.
Well, it was it was blatantly offensive in parts.
Okay.
I think they thought they were being funny.
Yeah. I didn't think it was funny.
There's a couple parts with Sally Field that were cute.
Yeah.
But aside from that, yeah, not in our wheel, not for us.
No,
it was made for somebody else.
But then we did watch a movie that was made for us.
We did watch something that was made for us.
So last night we watched The Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water.
That was written and directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Yes. Oscar winner.
Yep. And you love his stuff.
Yeah.
And he has some good movies. He even has one of my favorite scary movies, which I hate scary movies. But The Orphan, if you ever get a chance to watch that, by Guillermo del Toro. Make sure it's that one and not another one, because I'm sure there's another one out there.
he just produced that one. He didn't direct it.
But it's so good.
So good.
So good.
The orphanage. The orphanage.
Yes, the orphanage. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you. But The Shape of Water is so good.
So sweet.
So sweet and just so quirky and cute and
For those of you it's basically a Beauty and the Beast story.
right.
That's done in more of a realistic way. But
Kind
still
of like
has
Beauty
magical.
and the Beast / mermaid
Yeah.
type.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get a chance, watch that because it's really good.
The one review that this was somebody that enjoyed it, but it's just something that people should know. He was like, there was 100% more fish fucking than I thought there was going to be on it.
You don't see anything.
No.
It's implied. But it's done in such a romantic way that you're kind of
Yes,
bought into the story.
Again, it's a Beauty and a Beast
Yes,
tale,
yes.
but without that caveat that, he turns handsome at the end.
Exactly. Anything else you want to share with the Misfits?
I don't think so. We're a little over right now, so
Okay.
we should probably...
Wrap this shit up?
Yeah.
All right. If you would like your thoughts or reactions regarding future episodes to be shared with the rest of the class, or if you just want to reach out and say hey,
Come on, we would like to hear from more of you Misfits out there.
so email us at themaladjustedmisfits@gmail.com. Rate us and leave positive comments.
And if you have a negative comment, try to leave it in a positive way.
Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow the link in the show notes. The pages are called The One Where We Talk About Friends.
Joe, you ready for another cup of coffee?
Always. What do you think of my daughter in the apron with the big job?